Thanks for choosing Premier Scene. I'm William MacLaughlan. I'm here on day 10 of the 56th BFI London Film Festival. We're going to speak to the cast and crew of Good Vibrations. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how you came on board the project and just tell us about the film in general.
Yeah, absolutely. We came on board the project a few years ago, just after we finished making our last film, Cherry Bomb. The writers had been talking about it for quite a long time before that, but we read a treatment that they'd written and essentially hijacked it at that point. Terri Hooley's story and the story of the Good Vibrations record shop and the whole punk music scene in Northern Ireland in the 70s. It's a story that was very well known in Northern Ireland, but it's such a universal story about the power of music and of youth to defy even the darkest of times that we really felt it was worth trying to bring to a bigger audience.
And is there something particularly complicated as a filmmaker or filmmakers about using a person that's still alive and who's been so influential? Is that a challenge for you guys?
No, not at all. Terry's a great friend and has been a great inspiration for the project and a huge help. And he's not the only one who's still alive. A lot of the bands are still about, and they were able to come in and help with wardrobe and talk to all the production designers. And so all that's been a great help, really. Terry's such a charismatic guy and has so many stories. We could have made 5 films, actually. So who knows, maybe a prequel after this one.
And that was going to be my next question, is to have Terry on board with you, helping you make the film, is that a major help, getting clearance on the music and access to the people who worked on it?
Well, certainly. I mean, Terry's been, as Glenn said, an amazingly, gracious and generous presence throughout the making of the film. As it's based on his stories, and of course he has, a wealth of people in the music industry that he knows. We've also, David Holmes has been a big part of making the film. He's a producer and has been responsible for the soundtrack, and so of course it's been great to have his help with all of those things like clearances, etc. too.
I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how you approached creating the character of Terry, obviously with a real person still alive. Do you use Terry as a kind of a touchstone for your character?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not an impression that I'm doing, it's an interpretation. He's an incredible spirit, a brilliant character to play. He's full of joy and love and mischief. And any character that has those qualities is just, it's incredibly fun to play.
And was there any moments in the film you found particularly moving for you as an actor and personally, working on such a high-profile Irish film?
Yeah, I think there's a bit whenever Terry has an epiphany. I don't want to give too much away, but he has an epiphany when he first hears punk. And you know what I mean? It's just this moment when he first hears this music and he has this. He sees the light, and for me, that's what the film's about. It's all about joy and love and hope.
It really started over a decade ago when Glenn Patterson, I came out of a record shop in Belfast, and I went round to the Crown Bar, which is a very famous bar in Belfast, for a cup of tea. Well, a pint of Guinness and a brandy, actually. I had a long day. And Glenn Patterson introduced me to 2 television producers. And I was so tired, I'd unpacked 60 boxes of records and CDs. I wasn't going home until I got them all priced and out of my shop. And I worked 18 hours. And these TV people started asking me what about my life and how I kept my sanity through the troubles. So I started telling them about my life. Glenn went away and came back 3 days later and said, "That'd make a brilliant movie." So Glenn started writing a script. And then we were offered two contracts by 2 Dublin companies, and I went, no, I'm from Belfast. I'm from Northern Ireland. I'm very proud to be from Belfast. I love Northern Ireland people. I love Belfast people, but I don't like the bigots. And I said, no, we should be making it. So 8 years later, we get the movie together, and it was a long process. So. And the movie's fantastic. I mean, it's just a brilliant story. It's not about the troubles in Belfast, but so many bad movies made about the troubles. The troubles are just the background. It's about how me as an old hippie went down to a punk concert one night and heard 2 bands. The first one was the Outcasts, who I hated with passion. And the second band I fell in love with. And as an old hippie from the 60s, who grew up in Belfast, where there was 80 clubs in and around Belfast where bands like them, with Van Morrison and all played. And they could play 3 different gigs. Belfast had really changed. All the gigs were closed down. And to see these kids and the energy, and I went up to Rudy and I said, well, I want to make a record with you. And the Outcast said, "Would you make a record with us?" I said, "No, you're terrible. I hate you." 9 months later, I was their manager and their record label. And I just thought the Outcasts were wonderful and really. And it was just about the IRA were bombing the city. The Shankill butchers were going out and killing poor Catholics. And we all were down in the Hart Bar in Belfast, which was an atrocious place. And we were pogo, and it didn't matter whether you had green hair or orange hair. It didn't matter if you came from Mars. It mattered that you were a punk. And the thing to be a punk in Belfast was the most dangerous thing in the world because the paramilitaries controlled all the areas. If you were a punk, it meant you were a... So the punks used to get beat up, go into Hart Bar and get beat up on the way home. And they're my heroes. And we all just stood together and we went, "The hell we is all. We want to change Northern Ireland." And we opened up the nightlife. It was a ring of steel around the city centre. And all you saw at night, it was the only city in Europe that you didn't, people didn't go into the city centre. And then it was the police and the army, and it was the police and the army and the punks. And we opened up the nightlife again. And I'm very proud of all that fact. And even the city council tried to ban me putting on concerts, bringing all the kids together when the whole country was having a mental breakdown. And we achieved it. And I never realised what we were making history at the time. And then to see the movie, which is absolutely fantastic. But we turned down a lot of movie contracts. We wanted to be Belfast people making it. We didn't want any outsiders coming and tell us how to tell our story. And I left it to them because I trusted everybody. And it's a brilliant movie.